Welcome to Professor Game Podcast, where we interview successful practitioners of games, gamification, and game thinking who brings the best of their experiences to get ideas, insights, and inspiration that help us in the process of getting the students to learn what we teach. And I'm Rob Alvarez. I teach and work at IE Business School in Madrid, where we create interactive and engaging learning materials. Want to know more? Go to professorgame.com/subscribe, start on our email list, and ask me anything. Hello, Engagers. Welcome back to another episode of the Professor Game Podcast. And we have today with us a repeat guest. We have a very good friend of the family, personal friend we've met through many different things and ways of life and professionally as well. We are talking today once again with Bernardo. But Bernardo, before we kick off, are you prepared once again to engage?
I am prepared to engage.
Let's do this. If you haven't heard Bernardo and his original story, his first story, he is episode 11, very early on our journey. That was back early 2018. And Bernardo, as you know, if you see it there, but let's very quickly go through his intro. He started as a web designer back in 1998. He worked on JWT, the marketing agency, for a year and started his journey in the training world at EduMac as an Adobe Certified Instructor. And in 2018, he started working in the American School Foundation. And he has been working as a freelancer forever and founded his company in 2011. In 2011, he was introduced by a student to the concept of gamification, and since then, all his classes were gamified. He used this opportunity to develop BLUErabbit as a platform to gamify education and increase the engagement in any teaching environment, and he was awarded the Outstanding Gamification Software of Gamification Europe in 2017. That was right before our first episode, and that person who you heard in the background is part of the news that that Bernardo is probably going to be updating us today. So Bernardo, did I miss anything? Is there something else that you would like to mention before we kick off?
No. Actually, that was pretty accurate. Yeah, that's a very good intro.
So, Bernardo, what has been up since that 2018 interview with you and with BLUErabbit?
Wow. Well, oh my God, so many things. So, as you mentioned, the idea of BLUErabbit started as a gamified software for education. The idea is to effectively kind of like translate BLUErabbit, a simple class into kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, without the narrative of the dragons and the magic and all that stuff, just using all the numbers and all the structure. But then, after our first interview, we got hired for an event that happened in Mexico in Nuevo Vallarta. That was in May 2018. And suddenly, when they called us in, we were like, well, yeah, we could use a platform for this. And then we realized that all the conferences and all the events out there are kind of like a condensed version of a semester in the university, or they are actually learning environments. So I decided to kind of like start exploring that area. And well, now our main revenue comes from there, from gamifying events and gamifying everything that's involved in any sort of learning environment, because we've now grown into corporate training, into online training, classical education, and also we have these great events on our portfolio. Since then, we've worked with gamified events for Microsoft. We've made gamified events for at least 6 other different clients. Microsoft was a huge client of us. We gamified up to 7 events in over a year. And
nice.
We've gamified GamiCon, the gamification conference here in the United States, and Gamification Europe was also gamified by BLUErabbit in 2019. So yeah, we've been doing a lot. What I wanted to be clear is we haven't moved away from learning as much as we may have thought, because essentially what we do is that we improve the learning experience for the players. So we kind of find the way for them to actually feel the progression of their process in learning. And that's how BLUErabbit has been helping learners get better and do better for almost the past 3.5 years. Yeah.
Nice. So going from, a fully gamified education, mostly experience for education, you sort of stumbled into events organization as well. And that's something that you've been doing ever since, right?
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. And Bernardo, talking about that, going a little bit deeper, you mentioned as well, I know you are from Mexico. In fact, I visited you in Mexico in one of my travels. I know you moved as well. What happened there? Like you moved and maybe something else in the middle as well, in that sort of part of your personal life. If you want to mention it.
So my wife got promoted and we had the opportunity to move to Miami. So right now we're based in Miami. And we've been parents for the past fantastic 8 months and 1 week. And yes, the background noises that you may hear are our beautiful Hannah playing in my arms when she's holding her toys or anything and whatever she can grab, because apparently everything in the world is a toy to her. So
of course.
Yeah. And yeah. So yeah, that's we're now in the US, based in the US, and we're just moving forward with everything.
That sounds great. And not only, you moved, definitely. There was I'm guessing a completely voluntary move going from Mexico to the US. But I think it's very interesting to highlight there that, I don't think that your business changed much because of that move. And it also is giving you the opportunity of holding Hannah, what is it right now? Like 1:40 p.m. over there, and you're holding your daughter in your arms and still, doing the work you love and so on. So I think, well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Actually, we are fortunate enough to be able to work in gamification, develop the platform, develop our clients. Most of our clients are not based in Mexico, actually, forever. Now that I come to think of it, we did get a couple of schools who were very interested, a couple of clients over there, but most of our clients are outside, are in Europe, in South Africa, here in the States, in Canada. We even got a couple in Latin America. But yeah, so fortunately, we have been able to keep doing business literally as usual without any additional setup or settings, because fortunately, we've been able to gamify all of our clients remotely. What's also very, very interesting, once the pandemic hit, exactly when it hit, we were supposed to go to Vancouver to gamify our biggest event with Microsoft, and then they canceled last minute. We actually were like, what do you mean that you canceled? I mean, this was March in 2020. We didn't know that everything was going to be canceled for over a year, but we were like, okay, fine, so let's do it. And then a month and a half later, they were like, hey, can you gamify this online? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, we can do it. So we've been working like that for the past 1.5 years. No issues encountered on deploying BLUErabbit anywhere, and I do think that we're very, very fortunate to be able to keep doing that.
Absolutely, that sounds great, and it's pre-pandemic in your case. Like you were already working remotely even before this whole thing hit. So you were fortunate enough to be within that group of people who were already on that train, so to speak, and that's absolutely great. And you've been talking about, how it's been used in education, in learning, corporate, formal education. Is there a way you would say, like, how can we get the best out of BLUErabbit? Like, are there a series of recommendations? How do you do that? If I told you, like, I want to get the best out of it and get the best thing, and you forget about, I'm not giving you any limits on project. Like, what would that ideal project sort of look like?
Well, so the way I see it, you're going to get the most out of it when you get your learners, whoever they may be, whether it's a corporate training, whether it's a classroom, or it's an online course or whatever, when they are able to see the progress as they build it. So here are a couple of tips on how you can use BLUErabbit nowadays, because obviously from 2000, from that episode 11 to today, that's 3 years of development of new features. And I know that the podcast is about half an hour, and we would need like about 30 hours to just go through everything. So instead of that, I would tell you, you can do almost any gamified idea you have on another platform, you can build it here. So an example is how to create, a lot of people ask me how to create escape rooms. So all you would have to do is create a series of achievements within BLUErabbit, and then you hide the magic words for those achievements behind clues. And those clues can be earned in different ways, maybe solving quizzes, maybe solving quests, maybe answering questions of the teacher directly over a webinar. I don't know. So you use BLUErabbit to support your learning environment rather than thinking that it's thinking outside the box with it. Because normally, if you have an e-learning platform, the player has to go there and it has to follow a video. And once they finish to watching the video, they have to answer a quiz or something. But you're not expecting the player to actually go to class and then use that information to solve something else. And that's where BLUErabbit comes in play. Last year, we did a couple of great examples, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we were able to demonstrate how certain constraints will allow you to increase learning in an insane percentage. It's so effective to add a couple of rules where players can see how they progress that you won't believe the results. And we actually want to present the results of this project in GamiCon later this year.
Nice.
Where we will be able, when I was talking to PhD last week, she was telling me, hey, you should present this as a use case because this is publishing material. And we're working on building up the entire case. But what you can do with BLUErabbit is explode the entire potential of the players. So just think about this for a second. What we did is a scavenger hunt, okay? And the scavenger hunt required you to solve quizzes. But at the beginning, the quizzes were completely open. So one of the things I always ask educators out there is, if you can show me where on Earth and the entire planet says that a learner or a player or a student can only present a test once. If you show that to me, I will close my business. And I've been asking this question in over, I can confidently say that over 3,000 educators, administrators, and people around the education industry, nobody has been able to answer that because there is no rule that says that you have to answer a quiz or a test just once. The goal of learning is for the players to learn, not to be judged by your knowledge over a subject in just a specific amount of time. So what we did is this. It wasn't a scavenger hunt, and you had to solve a quiz every day. At the beginning, the quizzes were absolutely open. You could repeat it anytime, any amount of times you wanted. No limits, no cost, no nothing. Free attempts for all. And then after a couple of days, we started adding some constraints to those quizzes. Instead of you using the quiz, being able to answer the quiz 100 times for free, suddenly you only had 10 free attempts. Okay? After the 10th attempt, every other attempt would cost you 50 coins. Then, after a couple more days, we started reducing the amount of free attempts all the way down to one free attempt. And then every additional attempt would cost you 50 coins, right? We didn't increase the cost at all. We just reduced the amount of free attempts. The effect of what we had, this was over a period of 30 days. And for the last 7 days, every single quiz had only one free attempt. So at the beginning, you would have players attempting randomly up to 70 times a 3-question quiz, trying to figure out what was the right answer. The answers are always randomized. The order changes. We didn't even have more than 5 different questions. So you would see a mix of 3 out of 5 questions every time you would attempt it, and all the options were scrambled. And people would attempt it up to 70 times. That's 70, just to try and guess it the right, instead of actually reading the questions. That's how much they would do it once they have a free-for-all and everything. And then you can see this is learning happening in real time. Every single day we could see the progress of the players as constraints started happening. When they realized that they only had 10 free attempts, suddenly nobody started using more than 10 free attempts after the first day. Then the next thing that happened is that instead of reaching the 10 or the maximum number of free attempts, suddenly they started only using 2 or 3, all the way down to having 100% accuracy on that last week, where they would take seriously every single attempt and not spend any of their coins. Because what we were doing for the leaderboard is that regardless of your level or your experience points, you would be also measured by the amount of coins. That's kind of like the second measurement on the system. So you would go first place, X amount of experience points, second place, X amount of coins, right? So if two players would have the same amount of experience points, the second measurement is are your coins, so you don't want to lose anything, because then you would lose the first place. So it turns out that players were so focused on not losing their coins that then suddenly they had 100% accuracy. So it was really hard to measure at the end. The difference between first, second, third, and fourth place were like, I think it was 200 coins. And that meant that they had one mistake or two mistakes in the entire system. Now, when we present the results, we have the numbers for, it was, I think, 350 participants, but the data is astonishing. And this was inspired by something I read a long time ago about Dr. Chandros doing something with pharmaceutical students. And the moment that you limit your players, you constrain them with a set of rules, they behave to the best of their abilities. And
within those rules.
Within those rules. They're going to use those rules. So if they could cheat, it's not that you're cheating. I mean, if the rules allow them to do something, it's not cheating. They're just using those rules to their advantage. And this is one of the examples of how we actually use the rules to our advantage, just to make sure that we could increase the learning experience. And the results are fantastic, just like that. That fantastic they are.
Sounds absolutely great. I was going to ask you about an example, but I think you covered it with that one for sure. And was there, like, would you recommend, like, if you were going to do that same thing in the future with a similar situation, would you start again with unlimited, or would you start limiting and going down? Like, how would you implement it now that you've seen this working?
I think I would do it exactly the same, because the effect, not in the same scale, but we've seen this a very similar effect with competitive environments. So they all the time they have the limit. You only have 3 attempts, one of them free, and the other one cost money. And we see the same effect when you have something like that. But we're talking about gamifying events, not gamifying a long-term engagement. The example I gave you is a 30-day adventure where the players will have to solve so many things. They have enough time to get around the platform. They have you can hide a lot of information and a lot of content within the different tips and tricks that are within BLUErabbit. And when we did it in a conference for salespeople, we kind of have to rush it a little bit more. So I would say I would do it exactly the same by keeping it open for maybe 10 days, maybe 1 week for completely free, and then start limiting and constraining the players little by little. That way, you can see the experience, and you can, I do believe that you can get much accurate data over it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. When you have time with your players, you need to use it. One of the things that this is the thing, you have to take advantage of it, because this is one of the things that we suffer of when we are gamifying an event. You have 2-3 days for the learning curve to happen, for everybody to understand how to create, how to go through the quests and the achievements and the challenges and everything. And we know that it's not enough. We do know that when the players have been through a BLUErabbit experience in the past, when they come back to it, they use it faster and they have a little advantage over other players. But if you do have an entire semester worth of time where you can actually explode every single possibility within the system, then you will have access to much better data and the players will have a much better learning experience. So yeah, that would be my honest suggestion over how to use BLUErabbit if you would like to.
Sounds great. Sounds great. That's a very good recommendation, a very good example as well. Especially, it seems that it was focused a little bit on collecting data as well, which is always fantastic especially for many academics. We're looking at this as an experience. And I don't know, you might want to look into that as well, doing some research, as you were mentioning with that PhD. Yep. That's definitely very valuable when I conduct my workshops with EFMD. It has usually plenty of professors. So professors are researchers very often, and they're always asking for pieces of research. And probably because I am not a researcher, I don't have too many of those pieces. I don't look them up very often. I know I should, and I'm saying this as maybe as a reminder because I'll be conducting another one apparently in September. Maybe I should look a few up just to show them, that somebody else has been researching this. But that could be a very powerful piece if you come up with it as well with a partner, an academic partner, definitely, who does the pieces of that research and helps you gather that data in a way that makes sense for their research. That sounds great. And we were talking about, that great example. We talked about how to do it great. What's in the horizon for BLUErabbit? Because I know, companies and gamification is constantly evolving and growing. Like, what's next for you?
Well, we started with corporate gamification 2 years ago, and so here's the dream. I'm going to tell you the dream a little bit. We know,
sounds good.
Yeah. So we know that BLUErabbit is an outstanding tool for learning. We know that the traditional classroom seriously needs to disappear and evolve into what we know, not exactly obviously what BLUErabbit does, but what BLUErabbit engages and how BLUErabbit makes players feel and how they feel valued in their learning and in their how to feel valued in your learning, not in your knowledge, which is kind of like the entire problem I see with education. That they like measuring knowledge, they don't like measuring learning because you cannot measure learning. So what we're looking for is of means of actually receiving revenue from corporate training, from gamifying events, and being able to open completely our platform for free for education in the entire world. My dream has always been to reach at least 1 million players that have their education transformed and changed into a completely different thing. I've always hated the way teachers and the traditional education forces a player to feel after failing a class or after even making one mistake in a test. You should not be judged that way for not knowing something that is perfectly easy to know with a Google search or before you actually hit the button on the rocket, So everybody learns the same way. You have to make mistakes to learn from that. And our horizons shows that at least for the next couple of years, we keep growing. We actually had even during the pandemic, we had a better year 2020 than it was 2019. So our horizon keeps showing that it's going to keep growing. So far, we plan on keep gamifying corporate training and our events as to the best of our abilities. And as we open more market, as we gain access to more and more clients, we will open it more for education so that all educators out there who are listening to you right now, you can feel confident. Go to BLUErabbit, create an account for free, and no one's going to charge you for it. And you can start gamifying your classes with your players. We don't even care what email you use. We don't even care if your players have real names or not. We don't use personal data. All we want is for you to have your players know that they can actually experience learning in a completely different way. So that's what looks in the horizon for us. We really want to grow into a position where education gets gamified for free, and corporate training and everybody else are able to support that, so that when you get out of school, instead of have been judged for the past 25 years, you were encouraged to learn and to be creative. And that way, the next person in the next business or the next person you hire is going to be happy to join you and make sure that your company grows and learns and make no mistake. I'm not trying to create people who fail over and over again and feel like failure, right? Because a lot of people think, oh, so you want people to fail and to feel like failure and failure is okay. No. Don't get me wrong. You need people to fail at something so that you can learn, as Ann Koppen stated, right? Fail is the first attempt in learning. So
Yes.
this is the point. You want people to keep trying over things, keep being able to, okay, I made a mistake, so I can fix it. You don't want people to make a mistake that cannot be fixed. You want people to make sure that they can make mistakes in a safe environment and then go outside and say, no, we don't do it that way because that would be a mistake. You don't want airplanes to be 99% accurate. That would mean 1,000 crashes of airplanes every single day. So we really need people who can fail safely, who can feel confident enough about it, and feel curious and encouraged to learn so much and stop feeling judged for knowing stuff. So that's my very personal dream. I don't know.
Sounds great. It sounds great and very inspiring as well. Hopefully, we will be arriving to that. But I do know, and you mentioned this in the pre-interview chat, that maybe you're going to have some sort of special link for some of the engagers to check it out, maybe to use it in their classes. What is that? Maybe, I don't know if you already have it already set up. How's that going to look like? What can we find there? Or are you just going to leave us with the mystery of just going there and finding out?
I'm going to leave you with the mystery of just going there and finding out. What I can tell you right now is if you go to bluerabbit.io/Professor Game, all lower caps, you will find something there that will help you out. So you will find, I don't know, maybe tips and tricks. Maybe you will find a small video of me shouting. I don't know. You will find something for absolutely sure. Now, I am sorry if you have headphones when you hear me shout. That you will definitely find something interesting there. All right. Make sure that you go there after you listen to the podcast. I will ensure that you will not regret coming there.
That sounds like a very nice way of continuing that engagement and maybe using this in future endeavors as well. So going to bluerabbit.io/Professor Game, all one word. Is that correct?
All one word, all lower caps. Yes.
Sounds great. So
lowercase, not lower caps.
Lowercase, yeah.
Yes. But
yeah,
I'm
for
sorry,
sure.
My English and my Spanish get in the middle and then suddenly I start saying words.
Yeah, it happens. Where I work, it's always Spanglish. So, words get mixed up. That's part of the way things go. So thank you once again, Bernardo, for dedicating this time, sharing your time with not just us and also with Hannah, your daughter, giving a few shout outs during the episode, telling, I'm here as well. Don't leave me out of this. I'm going to be listening to this in the future as well. However, I don't know if there's anything else you want to do before we take off.
Well, I really just want to encourage anybody who has started some sort of gamified project, especially on education. This has been the best decision in my life, 100%. Everything else that has come out of it right after I decided to gamify my classes has been an incredible adventure. It is a learning adventure, it's a growing adventure, it's an everything adventure. So do not hesitate about it. It's going to be hard at the beginning because your skills may not be top notch. And maybe you're looking at some examples of people who have been doing this for a couple of years, or maybe even a couple of weeks before you, or some of them are professional graphic designers, or they have $1 million of budget. Do not get discouraged. The content of your adventure, of whatever you create, is absolutely 100 million times better than anything else any learning environment has ever done before. So do not hesitate. Create your gamified learning environment today. And I can guarantee you, I created BLUErabbit with the sole purpose of making that journey easier for you. So if you need help from someone who has been scared to the death in front of 120 students, not knowing what to do when they consumed the supposed 60 hours of training in 20, trust me, I will help you. I am here to help you. I can give you tips, tricks, jumps, hoops, and everything. And BLUErabbit exists for that reason, to make sure that you can also do it without all the fuss and all the hard work that it took years and years of experience.
Sounds great. Thank you once again, Bernardo, for all this time, for that great advice that you were giving away. However, at least for now and for today, it is time to say that it's game over. Hey, Engagers, thank you for listening to Professor Game Podcast. And if you want more interviews with great guests like Bernardo, all you have to do is go to professorgame.com/subscribe and get started on our email list for free. That way we can be in contact. As you remember from last week, you can even be answering our survey. You can be giving us feedback, and we will be building new things, and you'll be the first to know of that opportunity that might come from Professor Game exactly for you. And of course, remember, before you go on to your next mission, subscribe or follow for free using your favorite podcast app and listen to the next episode of Professor Game. See you there.